Negativity is a universal feature of human experience, but its presence does not have to dominate. Emotions such as anger, despair and fear often arise in response to loss, threat or frustration, and when left unchecked, they can poison both body and mind. Yet these same emotions contain energy that can be redirected. Through gratitude and appreciation, they can be alchemized into something fertile. This is not a matter of suppression, but of transmutation. Fear becomes vigilance tempered with trust, grief becomes tenderness, anger becomes clarity. What was heavy and destructive becomes compost that nourishes growth. To live in this way begins with a decision. Camus was correct to say that the essential question of philosophy is whether or not to commit suicide. Everything depends on whether existence itself is affirmed as worthwhile. When the answer is yes, the whole orientation of life changes. Existence is accepted as a grand adventure, filled with uncertainty but also filled with meaning. Suffering remains, but it is reframed, not an argument against life, but one of the textures that makes life precious. Cognitive therapists such as David Burns and Aaron Beck echo this principle in their own way, pointing out that suffering often arises not from reality itself, but from distorted interpretations of it. Choosing life and then training the mind to align with gratitude is the pivot on which everything turns. The Tao Te Ching's 50th chapter provides a striking meditation on this matter. It observes that most people respond to the inevitability of death in one of three ways. Some live recklessly, chasing vitality and pleasure with no regard for consequence, thereby inviting an early end. Some live fearfully, clinging to survival and sacrificing the richness of experience in order to postpone death. Others live in a paralysis of worry, so consumed by dread that they cripple themselves in body and spirit, hastening the very fate they wish to avoid. Each of these approaches stems from imbalance, and each ends in decay. There is, however, another way. A rare few know how to abide with both life and death. They are not naive about danger, yet they are not governed by it. The ancient image is of one who walks in the forest without fear of tigers, who enters the battlefield without fear of swords. This does not mean that tigers and swords no longer exist. It means that they find nothing in such a person to strike against. Fear, obsession, and excessive clinging create hooks by which suffering takes hold. When these are released, death still comes. But it comes as part of the natural flow, not as an enemy that dominates the whole of life. To abide in this way is to be a student of both life and death. Life teaches joy, spontaneity, growth and abundance. Death teaches humility, perspective and acceptance of limits. Those who learn from both are flexible. They know when to laugh and when to grieve, when to act decisively and when to let go. They do not demand constant cheerfulness, but they also do not surrender to despair. Their positivity is not forced. It arises from balance. Gratitude provides the foundation, keeping them limber in spirit and resilient against loss. This discipline is far more than a posture of optimism. It is an art of survival. To affirm life without denying death is to remove the sting of fear. Weapons and claws remain, but they cannot pierce a heart that has already accepted both the gift of existence and the certainty of its end. Such a stance transforms daily life. Each moment is received as unrepeatable, each difficulty as a chance to deepen resilience, each joy as a reminder of the miracle of being. In this way, negativity loses its power to dominate and positivity ceases to be an effort. It becomes the natural fragrance of a life lived in balance. To sum up then, life is fleeting yet luminous. To live well is not to chase after it in panic or to hold it so tightly that it suffocates, nor is it to shrink from its dangers in fear. To live well is to walk openly through the world, receptive to both joy and sorrow, willing to let each moment arrive as it must and pass as it will. In this way, gratitude becomes the ground of being, and every experience, whether light or dark, reveals its hidden gift. Death, when it comes, will not be a thief breaking in, but a final turn in the great adventure, the closing of a circle that was always whole. Affirm life, honor death, and walk without fear. For in such balance lies the freedom that neither weapons nor claws can take away.